And welcome back. Mike Papantonio, America's lawyer and host of Ring of Fire Radio, ringofireradio.com, on the line with us. Hey, Pap, how you doing?
Tom, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm watching the president here have to react to the whole weekend of it's Sunday. It must be Meet the Republicans on NBC.
Meet the chicken hawk Republicans.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And one of the things I think has got lost in the memory hole is that, while you could argue that Bush wanted to have a war because he wanted to be like FDR, he wanted to be a war president, and it worked out well for Reagan in Grenada and Thatcher and in the Falklands, and he thought that he could have a little war. And Cheney wanted to have a war for oil. That there was another agenda at work, actually two more. There was the neocon agenda, which was, we need to put a footprint in the middle of the Middle East, in particular to control the region with the help of our ally Israel. But secondly, and this is what Paul Bremer did, was there was a libertarian agenda. There had never been a successful Milton Friedman libertarian experiment. They tried it in Chile. It turned into a horrible dictatorship. They tried it in Russia. It turned into an oligarchy. They were going to do it in Iraq. And Bremer went in and his Order 37 dropped the corporate tax, the corporate income tax to 15%. Order 39 allowed any foreign company to own 100% of an Iraqi company. Orders 12 and 54 suspended all tariffs. They disbanded the army. They had the Ba'athist Party, you'll recall, was non-secular. There were Sunnis, there were Shia, there were Christians, there were Jews, there were Alawites. It was Alawite, it's an Alawite party in Syria. Saddam Hussein was a Sunni in Iraq. It was the Socialist Party. Everybody could go to college for free in Iraq. Everybody had free health care in Iraq. That's what they took down. And when they were looting the libraries, and pardon me for going off on a rant on this, I'll turn it over to you. When they were looting the library, Rumsfeld was going, "This is freedom. Free markets are going to emerge. This is our marvelous experiment." Anyhow, back to you.
Well, I think it's a pretty good, I think that you have to understand the backstory, Tom, to understand what's happening right now on Sunday programming.
Yeah.
Look, the reason we see the same few old chicken hawks on Sunday talk shows blathering about the wisdom of reinvading Iraq is because there's so few people around who are so shameless and so loopy enough to dream of going back in and going forward with an invasion. It's obvious to the American public at this point, even though you have some of these really outlier, just crazy kind of polls that are coming out that's saying as many as 46% say we ought to go in. They just look at who they are and then judge the poll. But the American public, it's obvious to them, for example, that Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld and Paul Wolfowitz were the same people who, knowing and intentionally, lied to us about weapons of mass destruction, lied to us about Saddam Hussein's responsibility in 9/11. So the average rational thinker has already concluded that the credibility and the character value and the good sense value of these chickens hawks right now is zero, just as it was in 2003 before their catastrophic Iraq disaster. But again, if you're a booker for NBC or CBS or for TV, and you're looking for a discussion, basically you're left with the same few discredited, virtually toxic chicken hawks. And we're willing to ignore the fact that 4,500 soldiers died as a result of that lie, or that 35,000 soldiers are left with lifelong brain injuries or amputations and paralysis, or that we spent it'll be $6 trillion before it's all over on completely wasted tax dollars. So I think the story is, the bookers are getting a lot of criticism here about why are these guys showing up on Sunday talk shows. But the bookers putting these few moral cripples on Sunday talk shows as experts is they don't really have a choice. Who's going to go in and argue with a straight face that this was a great idea? Yeah. We all have memory. You remember, Tom, Dick Cheney going to the VFW and saying, "Gee whiz, this is going to be a glorious invasion. We're going to liberate these peace-loving people in the Mideast, and we're going to have lasting peace in the Mideast, and that this is going to take 100 days, and there's no big risk here." So we all remember that talk, I guess, is what I'm saying. And the stories that I'm saying is, damn bookers putting them on Sunday talk shows. I'm just just as repelled by it as most people. But then when I drill down and figure out why, it's because there are no credible people that'll appear on those shows and say this is a good idea to go invade Iraq.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, wars help ratings for networks. I mean, this is just a sad reality of today. Did you read the rude pundits' comments about this?
I did not.
I had Howard Dean on yesterday, and I introed him by reading where the rude pundit says when they have Paul Wolfowitz on, they should kick him in the nuts. You know, when he starts talking about this kind of stuff, and when they have Dick Cheney on, they should kick him in the nuts. And when he went through like 3 or 4, Doug Feucht, kick him in the nuts. Yeah, you want to add, you know, Bill Kristol on Morning Joe, kick him in the nuts. That should be the response to these guys, to the point where, you know, if they even think about talking about going into Iraq, they wet their pants because they know what's coming. And Howard Dean was laughing so hard he could hardly talk.
Well, Howard Dean knows there's probably some wisdom to that. You know, when Megyn Kelly appears on Fox News, and even she calls out Cheney and says, look, Dick, you know, admit it. You lied to us. Admit it. You knew you were wrong. Admit it. It's a disaster. Admit it. Nobody really wants to do this again. Yeah. You know, when you have somebody from Fox talking like that, you know things have really changed in this regard. You know, a story that I went back and I think... You remember the Project for a New American Century?
PNAC, yeah.
PNAC. Okay, well, you've talked about PNAC. I've talked about PNAC plenty. Well, we can't forget what PNAC was about. PNAC, you had Jeb Bush, Paul Wolfowitz, Dick Cheney, Steve Forbes, Rumsfeld, John Bolton, all the regular crazies. I mean, every one of the regular crazies that had a plan. And we miss this about Iraq. The plan is no different today as it was back then, and that is that America needs to be an imperialist nation, that we'll all prosper if we become an imperialist nation, and we can do that now. This was kind of the talking points of PNAC. We can do that now because we have a superior military unmatched anywhere in the world, and let's go use it. We have it, let's use it. And it wasn't let's bring democracy to the rest of the world. If you look real closely about what PNAC had to say, it's the same kind of imperialism that Howard Zinn and Chalmers Johnson and any of those folks used to talk about when they were alive. Yeah. And so it all started with PNAC. PNAC was, you know, interesting now. If you go try to find anything about PNAC, they've disappeared. Yeah. You know, in 2006, they disappeared from the face of the earth. You know, they had an answering service, and this was this organization that was supposed to take us to this new century, the Project for a New American Century. And really, what it was about was imperialism. And so, as we listen to these folks today talking about these grand ideas of going back and invading again, it doesn't have to do with that they care about human life there in Iraq. It is the notion of this same nature of imperialism.
Do you think Cheney is doing this thing that he's doing right now because he doesn't want his legacy to be, you know, he's trying to reclaim his legacy, or do you think he's doing it to avoid war crimes charges, or just because he's a crotchety old fart?
No, I think he's doing it because the PR people have advised him that the best defense is a big offense.
Or is he trying to launch his daughter's political career?
Well, good luck with that. I don't know if you saw the video that they did, but it was almost a Saturday Night Live quality video where they talk about the very things that PNAC talked about. But a good PR person is advising Cheney, it's best that you get out there and you become the attacker rather than taking the full brunt of the American public saying, you damned idiot, you liar, look what you've done to this nation. And I think somebody's giving him advice like that, and he's embraced it, and it makes sense.
Yeah, remarkable. Mike Papantonio, America's Attorney, host of Ring of Fire Radio, ringofireradio.com. Pap, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Tom.
And keep up the great work. It is always great listening to you. We'll be right back.